Yes, if the board approves awarding and to sell the property to the bidder that, with the purchase price of $14.5 million, then what we would do is we would execute the contract and purchase agreement. It would go into escrow, and then there are various timelines that are spelled out in the contract where the purchaser would have a due diligence period of about 60 days. And then there's other timelines in there. So it could take, anywhere from 6 months to a year before we finally close escrow, but this would begin that process.
And we have attempted in the past, previous boards, to try to do some things financially with that property as far as long-term lease development, and none of those efforts were successful.
Correct. Last year, we did go out to try to find someone to do a ground lease to develop the vacant property that currently exists. That was unsuccessful. So back in July of 2013, the board did reject all those bids. At that point in time, we did get approval from the Board of Governors to try to negotiate individually for a ground lease with developers. We did some research. Again, that was unsuccessful in trying to find somebody to enter into a ground lease. And so in June of 2014, the board took action again to allow us to sell the property and deem the entire property as surplus.
All right. Thank you. Other members of the board?
Yeah,
Chair recognizes
Mr. Kellogg,
Trustee Baxter.
the reason that I made the motion is I agree completely with President Kellogg. We have an opportunity to sell the property, and that money can be used in the capital fund, and so I'm all in favor of it.
Other members at this time? Hearing none, there is a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll of the board.
President Kellogg,
Aye.
Vice President Otto,
Aye.
Member Archuleta,
Aye.
Member Baxter,
Aye.
and Member Zia.
Nay. And the reason I'm voting no is because I believe that the revenue is not going to be replenished in enough amount of time. That money could be used in the general funds for salaries.
All right, the motion carries in 4-1. Thank you. Moving on. This is now an informational item. This is a construction update, including procurement processes. So, President Oakley.
Yes, every year we give a facilities update, and in addition, board members have raised questions regarding the procurement process, so we thought we would add that part to this presentation as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Vice President Gable.
Thank you, President Oakley. Tonight we have with us our Director of Facilities, Mr. Tim Wooten, as well as our Director of Business Support Services, Ms. Margie Padron. So Tim will cover the construction update, and Margie will cover the procurement process.
Good evening, President Superintendent Oakley and members of the board. Tonight our agenda is going to include a Measure program history, Prop 39, scheduled maintenance projects, current, upcoming, and completed projects, and also the procurement process. On the Measure program history, Measure was originally passed by the voters in 2002 for $176 million. The master plan was presented to the board in 2003. The master plan and the facilities master plan were updated in 2007 to become the 2020 Unified Master Plan, which we are still utilizing today. The voters approved a $440 million extension of Measure E on February 5th, 2008. And environmental impact reports were completed for both campuses for the life of the program. Accomplishments of Measure E to date. Our new PCC Learning Resource Center, and expanded and modernized LAC Resource Center, major infrastructure projects to existing utilities, complete renovation of the Student Services Center, a new building T, which we're in now with a boardroom, multi-purpose, and faculty offices, a new parking structure with a 0.5 megawatt solar array that it produces on a daily basis, 2 industrial technology facilities, a new CDC at PCC, and complete renovation of DD and EE at PCC. Still going on, we have a renovation of the fitness center at PCC, a new facilities maintenance complex and warehouse, acquisition and improvements to building 01 and 02, relocated, expanded, improved bookstore at the LAC campus, stormwater runoff compliance and LAC grounds improvements, energy efficient central plants at both campuses that include a public safety office, and an athletics field restroom. Numerous energy savings projects that include HVAC upgrades, lighting retrofits, water system upgrades, and irrigation control. This is a graphical aid to look at site maps for both campuses that will give you a graphical version of what is currently completed, what is under construction, and what is in design. And the same thing for the PCC campus. So we're also going to cover Prop 39, which was the California Clean Energy Jobs Act approved by the voters in November of 2012. The Prop 39 first year allocation to Long Beach City College was $706,947. We had an existing central plant expansion underway at the time we were funded for this, and we were able to use the Prop 39 funds qualified for the energy upgrades in the central plant, so we used that in conjunction with bond funds to complete the project. Year two, which is this year, 2014-15, received $561,172 allocation for Prop 39 funds. We're currently in the design and analysis phase of retro commissioning building D and T. Also in the design and analysis phase, I should say, for the lighting retrofit for buildings R, Q, and Z. And of course, we have Prop 39 year 3. We also have 4 and 5, but we're just right now in the planning mode of what we're going to propose to the state as far as year 3, and that includes HVAC upgrades and LED lighting retrofits. Scheduled maintenance funds. We received scheduled maintenance funds today, or this year, I should say, 628,692 all state funds. So we have a 5-year scheduled maintenance plan, which is updated every year with the state. So we have projects in the hopper, so to speak, ready to go if we do get funding. And so the projects that we're going to be doing this year for the scheduled maintenance fund are the new roofs for building G, K, Z. Also 01 and 02 will get a new roof, and the paint exterior buildings of LL and HH at PCC. Last year received scheduled maintenance project funding as well. This was a 50-50 match from the district and the state. We painted exterior of the buildings B, J, and H, which are complete. And we're also replacing the fire alarm system at buildings JJ and HH at the PCC campus. We also upgraded and replaced the classroom heating units in the building M at the LAC campus, and this is complete. For current construction projects, the LAC Math and Technology building V, was awarded to Harper Construction and Silman Rights Architects. They are the design build entity. It's a 57,900 gross square foot math and culinary arts building, a student success center, culinary arts demonstration kitchen, and we're projecting this project to be completed the summer of 2015. Also under current construction, we have the LAC water, stormwater runoff compliance. This project is a huge project to bring us in compliance with the state stormwater retention requirements. These requirements require us to capture the equivalent of a 50-year storm on our campus and retain that until after the storm, also to retain pollution. And we have a 360,000-gallon tank, which is buried. There are 9 tubes that are 8 feet high, and they're buried in the grass area in the central quad. And there's a drainage system that directs all the water in this area, not only from the roofs of the building, but the entire central quad to these tanks. The tanks will fill up, and after the storm, we will pump it out to the city's stormwater system. We're currently looking at pictures of the hardscape down the walkway between J and A. That is ongoing along with the landscaping. We also have a new pavilion offering food service and outdoor patio seating, and we anticipate that this be completed at the end of 2014. The Building C renovation is going to completely renovate the building for the nursing program. Notice of intent was issued to construct one on August of 2014. The construction started in September, and we anticipate the completion of this project in the spring of 2016. Building AA and BB at the PCC campus, we're nearing the end of this project. We're calling for the estimated construction at the fall of 2014. We're very close to it. We're anticipating the occupation of the building of spring of 2015. This was a 2-phase project, with the first phase being completed years ago, which we're occupying building DD and EE. So we're happy to have this finishing up, and certainly look forward to moving in the spring. The Student Services building at PCC is started. This is a design build project that was awarded to Ball 4 BD Construction and RNT Architects. It will be a one-stop shopping center building for student services. The construction started in the fall of 2014, and we anticipate the construction to be completed in the spring of 2016. Upcoming projects, we have the renovation of the auditorium, originally built in 1956. The project will address structural, ADA, and mechanical systems. A design contract has been awarded to SBA Architects in August. And the design documents and DSA approval are estimated to take about 12 months. Also, upcoming construction for renovation of the English and Journalism program, originally built in 1935. Will also address ADA, classrooms, offices, and mechanical systems. Design contract was awarded to Steinberg Architects in the fall of 2014. And we estimate about 12 months for design and DSA approval, with an estimated construction start in the spring of 2016. Also, upcoming projects will be the first floor renovation, Building D. We will start this after we move everyone out of into the new math building, because this is currently occupied by the math program. This will address the need for new science labs on the campus. And it's currently in the design phase, and construction to start in the spring of 2016. Upcoming projects for the PCC campus. The existing building QQ will be demolished, and a new 24,000 gross square foot building will be built. It will house the electrical program, classrooms, offices. The senior center will also occupy the new building. And also in this project, we'll be renovating the existing building RR for the electrical program's robotic labs. We anticipate about 2 years for design and construction for QQ and RR. Excuse me. This is another perspective. This is a kind of an aerial perspective from the Walnut Street. This is showing the improvements that will happen to the site where the current QQ building is. We also will expand horticulture a little bit and move all functions of building FF to QQ in the new building. We also move foster care to the mobile units on May Avenue and demolish building OO, PP, and FF. More completed projects. This is a picture of the new alternate transportation and technology area, which we did a minor improvements to get them in there. We installed equipment and we did some improvements to the classrooms. Also completed is an outdoor solar lab facility. This is in the yard north of Building JJ. We installed metal on the existing shelter, some infrastructure and conduit for the solar panels, and also the solar control components for the solar system. So this is an instructional area for our solar training program. Building CC, just wanted to put this in here that we did renovate the fitness center, and it was completed in 2013. We also renovated that landscape area on the PCH between Building EE to create a drop-off area from the Pacific Coast Highway, and also new landscaping in that area. Under completed projects, this is our LAC Central Plant. It was we installed a 900-ton chiller and also the load base optimization system, which helps us to save energy and also helps us in the comfort level of the rooms around campus, because it's constantly looking at the information coming in and adjusting the central plant to accommodate what's happening out in the field. So we're very happy with this addition to our central plant. It was originally built for 2,400-ton load capacity, but we only installed 1,600 tons of capacity when the building was built, knowing that when math and technology came on and other buildings that we would have to add capacity to the plant. So that is complete and up and running right now. Also complete is the front quad of our stormwater compliance project. It's been complete for some time. We think it looks very nice out there. Really happy to have it completed and utilizing now. This has a stormwater retention system that what I call a passive system. We had enough area where 16 dry wells were enough to direct the water for the storm water into the 18-foot deep wells. And so we didn't need an active system. We were able to design a passive system that just utilizes the wells to try to put the water back into the groundwater table. And the Student Services Center at the LAC campus is complete. It was completed in May 2013 and is, again, the one-stop shop for our students on the LAC campus. So with that wraps up my presentation. I don't know if there's any questions, but I'm going to invite Margie up here to finish the rest of the presentation.
All right, members of the board, have any
I have a
questions at this
question.
time? Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Thank you. First of all, this was great. I really appreciate you putting this together. Our Vice President, Anne Marie Gable, and our Superintendent, that definitely sheds a lot of light for me. My question is, how many of the bond-funded projects have been completed, and how many have been completed on time and on budget?
Well, if you go back to the history, both
I
of
tried
these...
to count, but I couldn't. If you have a tally of it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. If you don't, that's fine. I can get it later.
I do not have a quantity count ready.
That's fine. I just figured you guys may have that. And how many have been on time and on budget? What percentage would you say, of our projects?
That's a difficult question to answer, but most of the projects were finished on budget, including some of them utilized the contingency, and most of the projects or all of the projects came in under a budget, with the exception of the contingency.
Are you referring to the original budget, or are you referring to revised budget with change orders that they were completed within that budget that was revised and contingency was utilized?
So the way I'll go ahead and answer that one for you, Tim.
Thank you.
The way the budgets were established in the 2020 Unified Master Plan, there was a preliminary budget that was done for each of the projects that we wanted to accomplish. However, that budget only included a cost for the assignable square footage, not the gross square footage. So the difference between an assignable square footage and a gross square footage is a state term and what is accessible with state funds. And so what the state determines as assignable, it's the space that is used. So this room would be considered an assignable square footage. A bathroom, a hallway, a mechanical room, a computer room, where you have your computer equipment, that is not assignable space, but it goes into the gross square footage. So when the original 2020 Unified Master Plan was developed, the costs that were established were based on assignable square footage, and it was also done before we were putting the full technology into the classrooms. So as throughout 2008, as the programs began to develop, we realized that those original budgets that were established needed to be adjusted upwards to accommodate for the additional cost related to the gross square footage, as well as the additional cost to fully wire all of the classrooms and put in the instructional technology that is going into every single new classroom that we modernize or build. The other aspect on the budgets is once the architects do the design documents, the architects will come up with an estimate of what they believe the cost will be. And at that point in time, we determine if we have the sufficient budget or if the project needs to be value engineered to reduce the scope so that we can stay within budget. But the budget is adjusted at the time that the design is done. We have not had any projects that have gone over budget once we get that budget from the architects based upon the design that is approved by all the end users and represents the scope needs and instructional needs of the programs.
And how many were value engineered?
I don't know that answer. I mean, every project we have goes through changes. You may, like we started the design on Building P 3 years ago because we're applying for state funding. Now we have new end users that are going to be part of the team that is looking at the scope, so there may be changes at that point in time. I don't know that I would call that value engineering, but they are definitely changed and reviewed as time goes on in order to best meet the instructional needs at that particular point in time.
And I'm sorry, did you respond to the question about how many were finished on time? Did I? You may have, and I may have missed it.
No, I apologize.
we don't have it by project. We usually, as we're going along, we give updates on project by project, but we do not have a cumulative list of every single project that the district has undertaken since the 2002 bond on which ones were finished on time and which ones were not. I would say the majority of them are finished on time. We have a few exceptions that were grossly over the original estimated time, but for the most part, most of them do come within the appropriate timelines.
Is it possible to get a list of what you're referring to, just to get an idea?
We don't have that information. It would take a lot of time to generate it, and some of us weren't even here back then to even know.
So let me make sure I understand. You don't know the status of our projects? Because, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm asking for, the status of
No.
each project when it comes to budget and time, and a summary of them
No,
as
that-
it relates to the bond money.
What I had said is I do not have a list of every single project that was done on whether or not it was accomplished on time or not. We started these projects back in 2002 when the original bond was passed by the voters. So we don't have that historical information on every project that was undertaken on whether or not it was accomplished on time or not. We do have a budget that is reviewed by the Citizens Oversight Committee that goes to them on a quarterly basis that shows what the current budget is, the original budget, and the expenditures to date, and that is posted on our website.
Other members at this time?
Well, I like to certainly get that. I've looked at the information on the website. It's not satisfactory to what I'm looking for as far as the original project budget, where we're at today, and where are we at as far as time completion, originally anticipated completion timeline, and where we're at. And I'd like to get that information.
So just to be clear, Trustee Zia, you're asking about the projects that are currently in construction.
No, I'm asking for the projects that have been completed.
Okay, so how
Well-
many of those projects are we talking about?
Whatever the projects were completed, that I like to see if they were completed on time and according to the budget. That's all. I don't think it's a very difficult issue. Are you guys saying that we don't have some sort of a tracking mechanism?
No, I think what Vice President Gable is saying is that we can go back and construct those timelines, but they're all included in the performance audits, the audits that were done at that time. Those updates have been coming to the board for quite some time, but we don't have one document that reflects every single project that the college has ever accomplished.
Well, I'm talking about the ones that have been completed under the bond money.
Well, that goes back till 2002.
Right. So the ones in the performance audit, it doesn't have, based on my recollection, and I can check again, and perhaps you can remind me, it doesn't have the anticipated timeline when they were originally let, the contracts were originally let. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Other questions?
I think the superintendent wanted to respond to that unless he changed his mind.
Well, unless it's the pleasure of the board, we can bring forward the information on the current projects. We can bring information on what's happening now, but it would take some time to reconstruct all of the original budget estimates from 2002 going forward. Unless there's a good reason why to bring that information forward, I would just leave that to the pleasure of the board.
The reason would be in our oversight capacity, and this, I'm assuming this is information update. So if you expect me not to have questions, then I think that's unreasonable. I'd like to see some sort of a tracking of our projects. I don't think it's a, it doesn't fly in the face of common sense to have a tracking sheet of our projects that have been completed and, completed within a certain budget that was originally set and a certain timeline. When we bid out these projects, don't we know the completion timeline based on the notice to proceed that was given? I mean, that's part of the contract, isn't it? Is it not?
It is.
Okay.
And we have been reporting that to the board over the last 12 years. And so those boards have exercised their oversight over those projects and have received multiple reports on those projects and have received multiple audits on those projects. So if we're talking about the projects that are currently in construction or that be in construction, you will get those updates every time that we bid a project. You receive the estimate, and so you have that information.
Well, if you've provided it to the previous board members and boards, please just send it over to me. I'd like to educate myself. Whatever that report was, or if you could just show me where that is, I'll gladly spend the time on my own and research that. Just I haven't been able to find that information. It's probably operator error on my part, but if you could educate me, that would be great.
Perhaps we
Other
could
members
start with the performance audits and just give her copies of the performance audits and see if she's got questions after reviewing those documents.